Montrose. I am in the studio with Glen Justis from Experience on Demand. You know, I like saying your name, Glen.
Do you? Well, that's good to hear.
It is Glen Justis. It sounds strong and like you might take me to court.
Well, I would never do that.
Okay. I hope not, at least
I would
not
maybe
today.
go to court with you if you needed some, some help.
Thank you, Mr. Justice. I like that.
You're welcome.
You know, it is the 14th of February, 2022. Can you believe it?
The year's flying by.
It is. I can't.
Absolutely.
So soon it'll be the 14th of February. Ooh, Valentine's Day. Did you get anything for your wife yet?
Not yet, but I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
So not thinking about doing it, but thinking about what to do.
I figured
it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of what, right?
You are a good man thinking a month ahead.
I need as many points as I can get.
I'm getting so excited to talk to you because you are a unique individual all the way from St. Louis, Missouri.
That's right.
Not even sure if I said that right.
You did.
But before we chat with Glen, I want to tell you about all the events that we have coming up in Montrose. All right. So if you like live theater, tonight is the grand opening of Tintypes at Magic Circle Players. Did you know we have live theater here in Montrose?
We do, and we've attended one event so far.
Oh, you have?
We did. So we attended the radio show of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes. Oh, and what did you think of our little community theater?
It was wonderful. We really enjoyed it.
Good. They've been around for 62 years. The history is amazing. And then on the 17th, on Monday, if you don't get tired of seeing me on Fridays, you get to see me Monday on KREX, Channel 5 News. We do a Montrose Mondays. It is at noon, so tune in to find out everything that's happening in Montrose. And then on the 20th, the Power Players Luncheon that is owned by the Chamber of Commerce. We have the speakers from the Center for Mental Health. So there's going to be some timely updates on what we need to watch for regarding mental health. And for those of us who like to have a glass of wine, network a little bit, it's the Chamber's Business After Hours. That is happening on the 27th. And in fact, I believe that's where I met you for the first time, Glen.
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
So we attended I guess for us, what was the first chamber meeting, which I think was up at
Elk Mountain.
Elk Mountain Resort.
Oh, that
was phenomenal.
Wasn't it? It's a beautiful place.
It is.
Have you been back since?
We have not, unfortunately. We thought about going around the new year, but it didn't work out in terms of our schedule. But we thought it was spectacular.
Neither have we, but we plan on going when there's no snow or ice because I'm a chicken. But we definitely will go back in the spring. Well, Glen, I cannot wait to talk to you. I'm going to take a couple of seconds to thank our sponsors and underwriters. So we have River Valley Family Health Centers, we have Alpine Bank, we also have Elevate Fiber, and the Real Estate Store. Without them, this show could not be brought to us every single week. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and talk about all things Glen Justis and Experience on Demand. Oh, don't forget, get online, comment, ask questions, especially if you're a business owner, because we're giving away a $50 Visa gift certificate today. We'll be right back.
Employees, and we were in a double wide trailer with 4 exam rooms. So that's where we started, behind an elementary school, really focused on taking care of those children. It was a school-based clinic prior to us becoming an FQHC. But very quickly, we realized the community needed a lot more support, a lot more access to healthcare. So in the last 8 years, we've grown to 3 different sites. We have 104 employees now, and we're taking care of about 6,600 unique patients a year.
In Colorado, we come prepared to weather any storm, to choose to see obstacles as challenges that make us stronger and better. When things get hard, we face them, dig in, and rise above. That's why Alpine Bank is proud to call Colorado home. After all, everything we need is right here. You are Colorado, so are we.
Okay, we're back in the studios with Glen Justis from Experience on Demand. Don't forget, get online, ask questions, or make a comment because you could win a $50 gift certificate today. I love giving away prizes, Glen.
That's great. That's great. And I'm guessing your viewers like the fact that you do it.
I think they do. Last week, Dawn won a $50 Kinnikin gift certificate.
Oh,
have you been in Kinnikin's yet?
We have been in Kinnikin. We were just at that time just kind of browsing, but We love, fresh, high quality, meat, and so it was great to see them.
Well, I want to talk about experience on demand, but I want to talk about you first, Glen.
Okay, sure.
So you moved to Montrose. You and your lovely wife, who I've met, moved to Montrose about 6 months ago.
That's right, in June.
And from where?
So from St. Louis, Missouri. So
Okay.
we're native Missourians. So from the Show Me State.
Okay.
But
That's a
we
term.
we actually lived in Denver in the Front Range for about about 11 years.
Oh, okay.
And then moved back to St. Louis for family-related reasons. But our sons, we have 2 young adult sons who, we raised them in Colorado. And so when we moved back to St. Louis, they said, "Hey, good luck, sayonara. We're staying in Colorado. Colorado's home." Which
Score. What are their names?
Ben,
Ben?
Ben and Will. So,
Ben and
right.
Will. Great job, guys.
Yeah. So we, we just really decided we wanted to be back closer to them, and we miss Colorado. We had experienced the Front Range, and that's gotten, as I think all of us know, quite busy,
Right.
and kind of congested and traffic laden. Some people like that. We don't, and so we knew
Who likes that?
we knew the Western
Seriously?
Slope was it.
You did? Okay. Now, how did you decide on Montrose? Had
Well,
you been here visiting?
I think we had maybe just simply driven through Montrose, as part of a family vacation at one point.
Okay.
But literally, it was kind of processed by elimination. So we know we wanted a smaller community, but not too small. We wanted something with a lot of natural beauty, something that was not too high altitude, and had a great airport. So as part of my
We
consulting
have
business,
all of those things.
I still travel some, and Montrose checked all the boxes, which led us to visit, and we immediately fell in love.
Well, lucky Montrose, because in the 6 months that you've been here, you have gotten involved with the Greater Montrose Chamber of Commerce. I believe you're a member of that now.
We are.
You are a member of the Montrose Economic Development Corporation.
That's right.
You've not sat still for 6 months, and you're building a house.
Right.
So I say that
it's-
you're calling this home now.
It's been a busy 6 months, but like I said, we just love it. There's so many wonderful things about Montrose. Both the people are so kind. We have not been to a single business or community event where people weren't warm and friendly and just really decent, kind, respectful people.
Really?
And we like that. And you combine that with, Montrose is clearly kind of forward thinking in terms of business, which matters to me. And just the wonderful outdoor amenities are incredible.
So the first time I met you, I was nice to you?
You actually were.
Oh, okay. Just
You were nice.
Drew was back there laughing, all right? I just want to make sure.
And it was
that-
genuine. It wasn't snarky, fake nice. It was actually nice.
It was nice. All right. See, I'm doing something right. It's only taken me 5 years.
If I can learn from you, I'll be better off.
You put up with me and, my non-snarkiness. So I want to know about experience on demand, because I believe I cornered you that one time. I'm like, what is this? Who are you? What do you do? And then you started to spout out your resume, which I was sitting there thinking, I need to know this person. Because you are a former Price Waterhouse or Deloitte man?
Deloitte and Touche.
Deloitte
so
Touche,
I was
okay.
with Deloitte and Touche for a number of years in their governance, risk, and regulatory strategies practice.
Right.
And professionally, my background, I'm an engineer with MBA, and I first started working at a large investor-owned utility company, and migrated more into business. And I still have some of those engineering, I think, traits in me. I kind of refer to myself as a recovering engineer.
Okay.
But I love applying analytics, and a lot of the things I learned. I'm a numbers guy, right? So a lot of the things I learned in my engineering career actually have been very applicable as I work as a professional consultant.
And so, as a professional consultant with experience on demand, you do what exactly?
Right. So, well, as a firm, what we really do is we help business leaders solve problems and capture opportunities.
Oh, okay.
And
Did you
so-
guys hear that? They help business leaders solve problems and capture opportunities. I need to talk to you later.
Well, we can talk, and we've, I've worked with mid-sized consulting firms, very, very large institutions such as Deloitte, and then the firm I'm with now is a smaller, I would kind of describe it as a boutique consulting firm. And we've had the privilege of working with companies of all sizes. We work with some very, very large corporations that we continue to have a working relationship with. But we also really kind of pride ourselves in applying those skills, those techniques and tools to very small businesses. And so, a small business can obtain expertise and capabilities of a very large firm, through experience on demand.
Okay. And how big is this firm? How large is this entity?
So we have 7 owners, one of which is myself.
Okay.
And we have roughly a total of 16 professionals, and we have a network of other subcontractors and people that we have learned to trust and highly respect their work that we will also engage in our projects.
And are you the only one in Colorado?
I am the only one in Colorado. So we have our main offices are in St. Louis. That's
Okay.
where the firm was formed. We have myself in Colorado. We have a gentleman in Arizona and a woman in Florida
Okay.
as well.
Wow. Now, do you see the office or not sure what you're calling it, but Montrose being a significant driver of the company as a whole? Is there opportunity here in Montrose?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Montrose, it's a city of roughly 25,000 or so, and I think we have a very interesting blend of businesses, and I think we tend to be pretty entrepreneurial, and absolutely, I think there's an opportunity for us to serve the Montrose community.
So we had Sandy Head on towards the end of the year. So gosh, that was like 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy. And I thought that we only had 1 or 2 global companies here in Montrose. She says we have 14.
It's pretty surprising, but we do. We hit pretty hard for our size, town.
Which definitely helps you. I mean, that
Right.
obviously, those are obviously prospects on the larger scale of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, would you say that the mid-sized businesses that are here, my best guess would be half of the businesses that are here are mid-size. Would that be accurate, or
It
a
really
little
depends
less?
on how you define mid-size. I mean,
Okay.
there are different kind of standardized metrics of small, medium, and large business, but I'd say that's roughly correct.
Okay. And then you have the small businesses that have either 1 employee to
Exactly.
50 is your definition, or?
Well, that's a common definition. I mean, when you get to a 50-person firm, I think that's actually getting more than mid-size type company.
That's what I thought.
In my view.
We have 3.
Right. So, but obviously you can think differently in terms of revenues or number of employees, number of customers. There's a lot of different metrics, and what we find is it really depends in the industry what constitutes large or small. I've done a lot of work in energy and utilities, and utilities tend to be larger revenue, smaller margin companies, and so even a mid-size corporation, a mid-size utility company, from a total revenue and cost perspective, is quite large, and they have big issues.
So we have here there is DMEA, which is a cooperative.
Right.
Is that the type of utility you had worked with, or are they not? I don't know what you call them when they're not cooperatives. But
Well, there's depending on how you count, there's maybe 5 or 6 different forms of electric utilities in the United States and really across North America. And so DMEA is what's referred to as typically a distribution cooperative, although they've kind of migrated to to serve their own power supply requirements. So they have their own portfolio of generation and power supply assets. But DMEA is absolutely a form of company that both I personally and the firms I've worked with have served.
Okay, on a larger scale. So let's go, I want to go down to a small scale here. You ready
Sure.
for this one, Glenn?
You bet.
Because we are going to get some free advice from Mr. Glen Justis here. So this is what I want to do. Let's take a small production company. I don't know, something like,
What are we producing?
Drew Low and Creative. And so when you have a great company that is doing lots of business here locally, they're growing. What type of advice, how could they use your services?
So this would be a kind of a smaller company that's already established.
Correct.
And is growing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think what we would typically do, and what I think the most valuable thing to do, is to sit down and think strategically. What do you, as a business leader? So let's suppose you're the leader of that business enterprise. What do you really want to accomplish? Are you satisfied with your current level of profitability and your income?
Okay.
And it's more a matter of kind of protecting that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to grow, well, why do you want to grow? And so we like to start with the why. to understand really what the business leader is really looking to do and why they want to do that. And then we build a strategy around that. So it involves conducting an assessment, talking to the employee base, talking to key customers to understand at a deeper level than most firms are able to do, what are really the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, typical SWOT analysis of that organization. But then we take that further and apply some business analytics. We're very strong in kind of breaking down the numbers of a company to really understand the moving parts and how those parts all fit together. And typically, the path to that next level of performance, typically it's not just one thing. It's a combination of 3 or 4 or 5 things that are woven together that you have to think about and have to really kind of look behind the scenes to understand how to improve those things.
I like that. So you said you focus in on, you start with the why.
The why.
And then once you get to the why, you can maneuver to, figure out everything else. Like why, so if my why was, I want Our Town Matters to be the marketing experts for locally owned and operated small businesses, because I know that small businesses are the backbone of not only our community but the country. You could take that why and help us create.
So then what do you do to achieve that vision?
Right.
And how do you know when you've accomplished it?
What?
How do you know? What kind of metrics or objective?
Woo, you're killing me, Glen.
Yeah. How do you know?
Answers.
How do you know?
Well, my customers tell us that we're doing a good job.
But is that sufficient in your mind?
In all seriousness, no,
Right.
it's not enough. And so I see you truly help business owners break it down so that they can take that why, execute on it,
Right.
and then reevaluate once they get some answers to questions.
Most of us are kind of very poor at self-diagnosis, right? So, I know I'm not perfectly objective about myself. I'm guessing, it's hard for you and anybody else that I've ever met.
I don't know what you're talking about.
To do that as well. So we can come in and objectively apply leading techniques and tools, and in particular for me, it's kind of an analytic toolbox to understand the data and the kind of the numbers that are the foundation of the business to figure out really what is the optimal strategy going forward. Where do you get the best return for extra effort and extra investment?
Right. And then how do you not get caught up in the day-to-day activities instead of staying focused on what your goals are?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And so, that's a question we would ask the business leader. So how do you spend your time? What are you really focused on? Are you focused on the things that really matter, that drive your business forward? Or are you having to kind of focus on a lot of smaller things that really are, as a business leader, arguably below your pay grade?
Right.
That we need to find a way to make that, go away.
Do you know that, and I mean, maybe I've done this, maybe not, but some business leaders hide behind the day-to-day so that they don't have to look at growing their organization, or they get bogged down with just how large of a task it is to focus on growth and do things that, will grow and empower your organization. So it's easy to hide behind those things.
Well, that's right, and we're a big believer in what's many people know of as the 80-20 rule, right? So 80% of your success is really driven by 20% of the activities that you could focus upon. And so how do you kind of sift through that? And one of the things we do in addition to all the kind of the technical, kind of economic and business analytic forms of services, a big part of our business is leadership coaching. So how do we sit down with business leaders and ask the right questions, serve as a professional and highly experienced sounding board to help them stay on track, to kind of pull them up out of the weeds and really lead going forward.
So Glen, do you do leadership coaching as a group? Could we get a group of professionals together for, I don't know.
We do. So we do that on both an individual basis as well as a group basis.
Okay.
We also offer a service called Boardroom on Demand. We have, so it's very common for obviously large enterprises to have a structured board of directors.
Right.
But many mid-sized and small businesses don't have that.
No.
Now, some don't necessarily want it, but typically most can benefit from it. And so what we're able to do is kind of assemble a small group of the right experts and service that independent advisory board for our clients. And we actually do that on a very economical basis.
Oh, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I want to delve into this a little more. Don't forget, send your comments, questions to Glenn. But before we take that commercial break, I have a crazy question for you.
Sure.
What is your favorite thing to do in Montrose, Colorado for fun?
My favorite thing to do is to fish.
Yes.
So I'm a fly fisherman.
What? Drew's back here saying yes. Okay, fly fisherman? Seriously?
Yes. Yeah, I really been. I still remember as a teenager, right? So my dad took my younger brother and I to a local workshop. I think it might have been sponsored by YMCA or maybe the local community college to learn to fish. We hadn't done that before as a family, and so that, since I was maybe 12 years old, stuck with me. And so, growing up in Missouri actually has an abundance of beautiful spring-fed streams and rivers, and that's where I learned to fly fish. And then when I moved to Colorado, it was like, oh my goodness, how much better can it get? And I didn't know until recently. I can literally get from my, our home, which is right down on West Main, and or off of West Main, and I'm on the river in 3 minutes. And
welcome to Montrose.
So I fished yesterday. And
you fished yesterday. Of course you did.
I did from 2 p.m. to about 5:30 and caught a really beautiful rainbow just right upstream of the Main Street Bridge.
No one fly fishes around here, right? Like you were a lone man out on that river.
No.
Okay, except for Drew, but.
Yeah. And I met just the nicest gentleman that kind of out of the blue, he walked up to me. I was in the river. He walked up to me on the bank and said, "Hey, I have something for you." And I was a little bit skeptical, but he had actually been fishing that day, and he gave me a fishing fly that he had caught several fish on, and it was just a wonderful conversation, and it's just one great example of how friendly and kind people are here.
I love that story, and I can tell you, no one has given me anything on the river before, and I've been here 5 years, people. Okay,
really?
Yes.
So do you fish?
No.
Well, be careful.
Change that.
Yeah, I know.
Be careful what you ask for.
We're creating this list of all the things Tanya's gonna do.
Okay.
So we'll have to.
I love I'm not a professional guide. But I like teaching, and I love to take you out on the river.
That would be great. I might be a little afraid, but
No, now's a good time of the year. The water's low, and we'd have a good time.
Okay. Well, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. We're gonna be right back with Glen Justis.
Believe it, just like Gigfoot, Zero Lag Gaming does exist. The real myth now? Slow internet made you lose. So step up your game with Elevate Internet today.
At the Real Estate Store, we're a group of real estate professionals who share all forms of property brokering in an innovative way. Our expertise and experience makes us the best choice for buyers and sellers. Our brokers are ready to assist you, either in person or virtually. Come visit us in historic downtown Montrose and experience for yourself the difference of our personal, professional property brokers.
Okay, and we are back with Glen Justis, Experience on Demand in the studios. Glen, I gotta tell you, you've been fun to have on the show.
Thank you. You have too. This has been a privilege.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the free advice. I was a little nervous when you came in this morning into the studio.
Okay.
So folks, I have to tell you, Glen comes prepared. He had a stack of books. I felt like I was in my first year of college again, and I thought I was going to have a pop quiz. What is all this reading that you do, and how do you use these?
Sure. Well, so as you and I talked about before, I don't do nearly as much pleasure reading as I would like to or should, but I do. Like reading and making use of leading business books, and I'm more of a classics guy. So I mean, obviously, each year there's a multitude of new businesses or new books on how to succeed in business and so forth. I'm more of a the tried and true type guy in terms of the things you think about in analyzing and developing a strategy in a business. These ideas aren't necessarily new. I mean, what you see kind of in the newer books are just kind of different packaging of older ideas, right? And so for us, I've studied a lot of these books. I mean, it's been important for us to understand the kind of the right techniques and the principles that are time tested in how to think about business strategy. And so I brought a few of these today, but competitive strategy. So this book is all about how do you think about what makes a business tick and how do you create competitive advantage, which is the number one thing to think about because all businesses have to compete. And so how do you figure that out?
And so would you say that creating a competitive advantage or figuring out how to create a competitive advantage is like one of the top things, if there was a top 5 that business owners should be doing? They
should. If I were to ask you the question, who are your competitors and how do you stack up? If you can't answer that question or at least speak to your awareness of who your competition is, then there's some work to do.
Okay.
So that was an example of that. And this book by Michael Porter, this is one of the true classics on how to think about business strategy.
Okay.
Another one, the strategy-focused organization. So have you heard of the term balanced scorecard?
Yes.
So a lot of companies have what they call a balanced scorecard, and they may have what they refer to as KPIs or key performance indicators. This is the original book and the original methodology that was developed by some gentlemen at Harvard that described that. And I will tell you, most businesses that do it don't do it very well. They've kind of deviated from the true concept. They have maybe this list of 20 or 30 metrics or this very large list of all these quote goals, which they end up being just kind of mush, right? You need to narrow it down to a very smaller set of key objectives and metrics, and that's what this book talks about.
Okay.
Right. This next one is really close to what I do. So competing on analytics. So how do you really think about the numbers?
Why am I not surprised by that, Glenn?
Well, and we've all heard of the term like big data and analytics. That term analytics is used a lot in sports, for example. It's used across business. But what does it really mean, and how do you use it to your advantage? And what we've actually found is that it's actually the mid-sized and smaller businesses where this is more important than the larger businesses.
Okay.
And there are reasons for that, but I can explain it, later if you want.
Okay. So
then
the more
lastly,
free advice is basically what you're telling me.
That's right. And then lastly, this one, which is I think very very valuable and personal. For me, faith is very important part of our life. And this book, Management by Proverbs, has just wonderful wisdom on how you can think about business from a faith perspective and how these kind of tried and true concepts that relate to human interaction and leadership, how they apply in business.
Okay.
And so, these are the ones I chose to pull off my shelf today that really kind of resonated with me.
All right. So after I read all of these, then I can have a conversation with you again?
Actually, no.
So, good. I like that answer.
We will offer you the cliff notes and just here's what you need to know about each of these.
So, one of the things that I can't remember which book, on metrics.
Metrics.
So how important is it to have truly measurable goals?
I think it's very important. Now there's, you can't do everything, right? I mean, if you pay attention to everything, then you're basically kind of paying attention to nothing.
Right.
But I think metrics are very important. The fact of the matter is businesses are made up of numbers, revenue, and costs, and earnings, and you have to measure those things. And not only those kind of hard kind of financial parameters, but there are many operational parameters that are really important to pay attention to. The key is how do you distill down into a very short, manageable list? What are the 3 or 4 most important things to measure that tie most closely to your business strategy?
And so let's take a retail shop on Main Street.
Sure.
So if they're selling widgets, one of their metrics could be how many widgets, what is your goal of widgets sold in a week, a month, and so forth.
That's right.
And then something less tangible would be a marketing firm. How many clients are you retaining because they have grown X. I mean, those are.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. So how do you? And I think part of that is to really understand what are the true drivers of your business. What are the levers that really make the difference? And in our experience, part of that is to really understand your cost structure. And so, how do you really understand your fixed costs, which are those costs that don't really change with volume, and what costs do change directly with volume? And if you don't understand that well, it's very difficult to price your services. And many companies do not have a good handle on their fixed versus their variable costs. And certainly in a services business or a marketing business, that's more difficult than it is a widgets business.
Right.
But you do have, as a marketing and promotion business, you do have both fixed and variable costs that you have to pay attention to.
Yes, most definitely. Like my people.
That's right.
So, making payroll is kind of an important
making
thing,
payroll's
right?
important,
Yes.
right? And so, I mean, that's just one of the building blocks of then thinking through what is your pricing strategy, and then how do you, your pricing strategy also needs to think about how are you perceived in the marketplace. Certainly some companies and some products, they benefit from higher prices. Price is a direct signal of quality.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Mercedes-Benz. Perfect example, right? If you go out and try to buy a Mercedes-Benz that's maybe offered at 50% discount, you're going to kind of wonder what's going on. That's not the case for maybe a Honda or Toyota, that kind of thing. So all these things really have to be thought about in a holistic fashion.
Well, Glenn, we are so glad you are in Montrose and that we have this expertise here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, you know what? Whoever wins that $50 gift certificate, I hope you use it to give Glen Justis a call. We want to thank River Valley Family Health Centers, Elevate Fiber, the Real Estate Store, and Alpine Bank for underwriting this show. Mr. Justis, will I see you out on the river?
You absolutely will. So look for me around Main Street.
I sure will. All right, everybody, let's make it a great Friday.